Good evening, everyone. Oh, come on, you can do better than that. Good evening. I know I'm the only thing standing in between you and your bed or St. Patrick's Day. I totally get that. But I'm glad that y'all are here this evening, and I hope you enjoyed the 3 amazing teachers that spoke tonight. They did such an incredible job. It's such a tough act to follow, especially when you follow teachers, because they're so awesome. But let's go ahead and get started, because I know you want to get your St. Patrick's Day kicked off. Recently, I saw a post on Instagram that read, "What do I want to experience in my life now while I'm alive and vibrant?" I don't know about you, but I definitely don't feel vibrant most days, especially at my age. But it does get me thinking about my life and how I want to live it. And COVID has prompted us to think about things very differently, including our lives. And that question is a great one for all of us to consider, regardless of a global pandemic. For me, I've recognized how little time, care, and attention had been focused on my well-being. And tonight, I'm going to share with you a few ways that COVID prompted me to change and how those changes have made me a better leader. And spoiler alert, I have a lot more energy now, I'm more productive, and I'm able to prioritize the people in my life. So I hope this message tonight has you leaving here inspired to do more for yourself, to focus more on you. So right now, before we get started, I want you to just take a minute to stop and think about how well or poorly you are currently tending to your own well-being. Because we know that stress impacts our well-being, our physical, mental, and emotional state, and we've been living in very stressful times. It's no secret that the past 2 years have left a mark on all of us. For the first time in our generation, we pressed the pause button on just about everything. And we had to figure out how to adjust and adapt to impose changes and restrictions because our lives literally depended on it. And when we got to a point where we could press the play button again, even if it was only in slow motion, we realized that so many things still had to change. For us in the education field, we had to completely adjust the way our schools operated. During the 2021 year, we moved between virtual and hybrid and in-person, and we kept adjusting. And in our current year, even though most of us really expected things to feel a little more like it used to, we encountered even more obstacles and experienced even more changes. And I don't have to tell any of our educators in the room about that because you lived it then and you're living it now. And many days we felt like we stretched ourselves beyond the limits. And some days it still feels that way. But we have grown and adapted in ways that we never thought possible. And although some of us may not regard all of the changes as favorable, there are many things that have improved, especially as it relates to some of the adjustments we've made in our schools. And one of the best changes, in my opinion, is our increased focus on the social and emotional well-being of our students and our staff. As a principal, I've always made culture a very high priority in my school. But the past 2 years required me to think very differently about relationships and the support I provide. Because with everything that was going on around us, I wanted to make sure that my staff and students really felt loved and cared for, whether they were remote or in person. I wanted to get this right, and I wanted to improve. But I knew that I would have to start with myself. Because I've always been ambitious and focused on achieving success, and not that this is a bad thing, but there is a big problem. Because doing that, I subconsciously developed a mindset of needing to strive for perfection and wanting to appear perfect and together for others. And as a working mom and a woman in a position of leadership, I guess I always felt if I wanted to succeed, I needed to constantly prove myself. And proving myself often meant neglecting the things that really should have mattered, especially the people who really matter. So in the first 6 years of my career as a principal, I worked more than 50 or 60 hours a week. And I was in bed about 4 hours a night. And I say I was in bed and not I slept because even when my eyes were shut, I know I wasn't getting quality sleep. And during my middle of the night waking hours, while hopefully everyone else was sleeping, I would work. And that included sending emails. And I know what you're thinking. She's that principal. And I hate to admit it, but I was. I did not make time for physical activity, and I did not make the healthiest decisions. I even ate many of my meals from gas stations. Yep, that's right. I said gas stations. But I can't lie. The rolled grillers at QT and Circle K, they're pretty tasty. And they're very quick. But do y'all think they're healthy? Not a chance. Not a chance. And I do recommend them, but please, don't go overboard. But I really believe doing all of that meant I was able to maximize my time so I could be more productive. And I really believed that I was able to contribute in more meaningful ways and that I could provide continuous support to others. And I was so wrong because living like that, it was not living. It definitely affected my quality of life, and it sent an unintended message to the amazing team at Idlewild that I expected the same from them. And I know it made my daughters feel as if they had taken a back seat to my career. And although I regularly spoke about taking care of yourself, spending time with your family and loved ones, and I encouraged my staff to do this, I realized they probably didn't believe me because I didn't live by example. How could I ever expect somebody to practice self-care if I wasn't doing the same? And when I realized that, I knew I had to change, especially if I wanted to project a lifestyle that focused on well-being and taking care of yourself. And if I was wanting my staff to do that for themselves, they needed to see that from me. And when the world shut down in 2020, we realized we had a lot of time on our hands. I mean, think about all of the things we were restricted from doing. We could no longer run to the grocery store and really force ourselves to go to the grocery store after working a full day, or serve as a personal chauffeur for our kids. But that extra time did allow us to get creative, and it even allowed us to explore some new hobbies. Some of you probably got on the bread making trend. I'm not that skilled, but I did start making time for exercise. And so starting in around April of 2020, every day I would take my dog for a walk around the neighborhood for at least 30 minutes or more. And I gotta tell you, that was probably the best change I ever made. And Brady loved it too. But I was outside, I was getting fresh air, and I was able to shut off some of the noise that constantly filled my head. And I gotta say, it really improved my mental state. So if you're not walking or exercising, I highly recommend it. But I also noticed, imagine this, I had more energy during the day. And I was actually able to be more productive. And added bonus, I slimmed down a little bit, even though you probably can't tell. But when the summer of 2020 came, I needed that energy and I needed that improved mental state for all of the time and effort that went into planning for a very different school year. And then in October of 2020, I started to put more emphasis on getting quality sleep I couldn't run on 4 hours anymore, y'all. But I had to do 2 important things to make this happen. First, I had to set a bedtime reminder on my phone, and I had to force myself to adhere to it. And this is very difficult when you're addicted to binge watching TV, because every night I would think I can squeeze in one more episode. And the second thing I had to do, no more TV on in the bedroom at night. And let me tell y'all, this one was brutal because I spent decades needing the TV on to fall asleep at night. Frasier, to be specific. And I knew that there was a problem with turning the TV off in the bedroom because I needed something on in the background if I wanted all the noise to go away. So I chose the Calm app and I started easing into the change. And I cannot tell you that it took a couple months to break my TV habit, but the difference this change made in my life has been remarkable. And I made the decision when I got home from work at night that I wasn't going to work anymore. Now when I get home, I'm a mom. Although I don't think my daughters enjoy that as much as I do because they always say I annoy them. If you're a parent, you know exactly what I mean, especially if they're teenagers. But this separating work and home, it gave me more time to cook meals, which definitely helped me avoid the gas station. And my team no longer wakes up to emails sent by me at 3 a.m. I know they're happy. Many of them are out there, so I'm sure they're probably going, yes, thankfully. But you know, it was a couple of different things that happened over time that really allowed me to take that opportunity to change. I even started drinking more water, and who knew how great you would feel if you didn't drink tea and coffee and soda all day, right? But it's made a huge difference. And while I know that I still have so many things I need to work on, trust me, if you know me, you know there's a lot of change that still needs to happen. But I know that making these simple changes over time has made me a better person. It's improved my quality of life. It's improved my health. It's improved my relationships. And I'm better at my job than ever before. You know, I often think about that and like what a difference it's made, because focusing on my well-being and making a few simple changes has allowed me to live with more intention, which has increased my productivity at work and at home. It's improved my outlook and my mental state, and it's allowed me to prioritize the people in my life. And I gotta tell you, it really has made an incredible difference. And it's hard sometimes, I think, to stand here and be vulnerable and let you know what a complete mess I was. But it's made a difference. Because if we're not good to ourselves, we can't be good to anyone else. And that's one of the many reasons why self-care is essential. But let's be honest though, we know that self-care looks completely different to everyone. For some of us, it's as easy as spending time with our family, binge watching something on TV, not at night though. Playing Candy Crush on your phone or reading. Or it could be completing a DIY home project, going on long hikes in the woods, planning a vacation, scheduling a trip to the spa. And please don't think that practicing self-care means you have to make grand, over-the-top changes or plan expensive experiences. And don't get me wrong though, vacations and trips to the spa are awesome, so definitely do that if you can. But the reality is there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach to self-care. You just have to do what's best for you. And you have to think about what you love and enjoy the most. And when you figure that out, commit to doing more of it. So some of you may already be crushing self-care. And if that's the case, that's incredible. Please keep it up. But I highly encourage you to think about the people that you care about, the people in your life. And if any of their situation looks like mine was, offer your expertise and help them. And so tonight, I'm going to talk to you about how to do this and some of my recommendations. And I want to be honest with you, I am not an expert. It's taken me 2 years to get to a point where I have some consistency, but I know that I am better every single day because I feel better every day. And while I attribute earning the title of Principal of the Year to the amazing people I have around me every day, many of them are here in this room tonight, I know that making these lifestyle changes has made a huge impact and a major difference in my life. So I want to share my recommendations with you. And if you can use them or help someone else in your life.
Lorinda has been promoting self-care for years, but when the pandemic hit, she encouraged it even more. Obviously, as someone who says this, you typically just start with, okay, yeah, I'll do that, or, yep, right after I do this. I think that she realized quickly that everyone was just saying they would, eventually. So she decided to lead by example. Over the past 2 years, little by little, I've seen her take time to care for herself even more. One of the many changes I've seen is Lorinda's responsiveness. Things that may have bothered or upset her prior don't receive the same response. Seeing her set these priorities has easily had a trickle-down effect on the staff, and I've heard more and more people around the school talk of ways they are taking care of themselves, taking time to practice what Lorinda has preached, encouraged, and practiced herself. I'm proud of her for promoting such an important concept that a lot of people tend to push to the side.
So that was one of my teachers. And I wanted you to hear that because I think it's critically important for us to think about how we're perceived by others, because I had a perception in my mind of what I thought others saw, and then I was quickly reminded when I started thinking about my life about how wrong I was. So let's talk through some of the steps. First, pause and reflect. This is the only way that you will be able to tell if there is a need for change or doing things differently. And it's kind of like monitoring your finances. If you realize that you're spending too much money at Starbucks, you have to decrease your purchases of fancy drinks. And the same thing is true with your time and energy. Monitor your calendar and how you spend your time the same way that you monitor your finances. And ask yourself, am I setting boundaries for my time? And am I communicating those boundaries to others who might infringe on them? Second, start small and commit. Choose one thing to add, stop, or change doing. Set a realistic and attainable goal and stick with it so you can determine if it's working. And do yourself a favor, involve a partner. Have somebody who's willing to hold you accountable, someone who is not afraid to tell you when you've lost focus so you can get back on track. And third, monitor your progress and make adjustments. If adding, stopping, or changing that one thing brings you joy and it revitalizes you, keep going with it. And maybe even consider going back to step one to pause and reflect again to see if there's something else you want to add, stop, or change doing, and just follow the process. But this part's critical. If that one thing is not yielding the results that you want, don't be afraid to make adjustments or even find something completely different and start over. Because we really do need to think about how we're going to live our best lives. And I think over the past 2 years, we've had an opportunity to have a lot more time at home and to reflect and think about where we are. So I want you to think about what are your next steps that you're going to take to tend to your well-being. or to support others in taking better care of themselves. So I'll leave you with a final thought as you embark on your journey to improving your quality of life. Leonardo da Vinci said, "I love those who can smile in trouble, who gather strength from distress and grow brave by reflection." Take time to reflect regularly so you can really look deeply at what is working for you and what is working against you. And continually ask yourself, am I making time for the people I love? And that includes you. Because making time for yourself and doing great for you is what self-care is all about. And never, ever, ever feel guilty about taking care of yourself and making you a priority, because you deserve to experience greatness while you are alive and vibrant.